In today's episode, we're here in the carriage works to see something rather special indeed. Welcome to In the Loop. Hello folks and welcome to the watercress line. Now before we find out a little bit more about the coach to my left, it's time for a quick fire look around the railway to see what's been happening since the last episode. Well, of course, there was only one way we could start this year, and that was by joining the rest of the country in the Railway 200 whistle up. We did two, one to mark the stroke of midnight at Ropley and the second one at midday at Alton. And credit where credit's due to everyone who turned up for that. The weather was, let's say, more than mildly unpleasant. But that's a nice metaphor for railways in itself. No one had to be there, no one has to do it, but we do it because we love it. Anyway, onwards with the news. Over here in the paint shop, the work in Canadian Pacific is absolutely storming through. On the outside, they're going through the paint. On the inside, they're doing some minor finishing off works. Needless to say, it's going to be fantastic to see it back. And if you would like to get your ticket for the first public running days, visit watercressline.co.uk. Over here in the boiler shop, work is pretty much finished with the eyelets boiler now. As a reminder, this was taken out to do some work on the stays here. Normally this can be a job that's done in situ, however, just due to the precise nature of the stays, realistically that's where the frames start getting in the way. Handily, it wasn't needed over steam illuminations, so they took it out. The work's been done here in the boiler shop, and the next stage it'll be taken outside, steam tested, and then back in the frames. Elsewhere around the railway, the Wednesday gang have been out in force, doing some pruning of the apple trees and felling some other bigger trees, all in the aid of site care. The team here do an absolutely fantastic job at each of our stations, all the way up the line, and they're responsible for the beautiful vibrance and colour you see when the flowers are in full bloom. A severely underrated department, and the team here do sterling work indeed. Now, understandably, when we're not running trains, that doesn't mean the work stops completely. The carriage team have been going hell for leather, doing B exams of every single coach that carries passengers. This essentially is your carriage version of an MOT, if you want to call it that way. They're checking absolutely everything. So from the bottom end, we're talking springs, linkages, bogies, braking, to the top end where the passengers sit. Windows, doors, latches, making sure everything is safe and secure, ready to receive passengers for this year. Now, in the same way that coaches are being stopped for exams, same with the locomotives. 257 Squadron is here on the pit having some running maintenance done, and we'd like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to our friends at Southern Locomotives Limited for lending us this beautiful piece of machinery. It's helped us over the last year and for steam illuminations as well. Now there's a bit more time to see her before she leaves. She is going towards the end of March, so just a couple of months left. But once again, thank you so much to our friends at Southern Locomotives Limited. Now if you turned up on the last 2 days of steam illuminations, you would have seen two things. The first one is snow, unbelievably, making that wonderful Christmas scene, and also our little blue engine hauling one of the trains, with a wreath adorned to mark the passing and to pay tribute to Brit Allcroft. She was responsible to bringing those famous Thomas the Tank Engine books from Reverend Wilbert Awdry to life on TV. And she even signed off on the transformation of this locomotive here into its current form in the mid-90s. A true friend of the railway. Thank you so much, Brit. Well, a lot's happening here at the watercress line. Now, while steam illuminations was underway, the road we usually use in the carriage works for either rigging up the trains with lighting or stripping them off afterwards was available. So they brought in this coach here. This is an inspection saloon built by the LMS. They had a variety of functions from route learning to big director's saloons, which were incredibly lavish. Previously, this was privately owned. It was stopped at one point for roof repairs, I believe. And unfortunately, the owner died and it passed on to the railway, but there wasn't really anywhere to put it. So it has been vaguely undercover, languishing outside until now. It has been brought in partly to dry out. It's also to get a canvas made up and fitted before we need this road back for the steam illuminations coaches to come back in for light stripping. Now, to find out a little bit more about the state of play inside the coach, we chatted to one of the carriage shop team, Neil.
Hello, it's Neil here again from the Carriage shop. Right, today we're going to have a quick look at the LMS inspection saloon, which we've just put in here this morning. The idea of it being in here at the moment is just to let it dry out a little bit. It's the tarpaulin that was on it has got a bit shabby and the water's been getting in. So what we're going to do over the Christmas period, we'll have it in the shed, dry it out a bit, and then we're going to put a new tarpaulin over the top of it before it goes back outside again. Hopefully in the time that we've got it in here, we'll have a chance to clean out the gutters, give it a bit of a spruce up on the outside and on the inside. So yeah, when it goes outside again, it's going to be in better shape. Okay, so we're now inside the London End Saloon. Now these vehicles, well this one in particular I think was built in 1940 at Wolverton Works. What they were used for, from what I understand, there are three different types. One of them might have been used for route learning, and then there would have been an inspection saloon which would have been a little bit more upmarket, and then finally like a director's saloon which would have been very swanky indeed, which is hopefully kind of what we'd like to replicate when we actually put this one back into service at some point. So yeah, some of the really nice features in here, particularly like the light fittings up the top, they're particularly nice. At this end, it was quite interesting, there was a brake valve which could be operated by a guard, which meant that these vehicles could actually be propelled or pushed by a locomotive. So the guard will then have control over the brake and have a forward view. They were also equipped with air horns on the top as well, so that could, as they approach crossings or any other things, that they could sound a warning. So yeah, it's obviously at the moment in pretty poor condition, obviously because the wet been getting into it. But as we go round, these front windows you could open, so they would drop down, and we'll go around this side a bit, around the chairs. Obviously we've got heating, operated obviously a steam heat system, but some radiators. Yeah, so it's really could be a very, very nice vehicle indeed if we get the chance to restore it. So we're now in the corridor. In here is the toilet. Oh, sorry, do apologise. And this is the guards compartment. There's some quite a nice comfortable seat in here, reading lamps, luggage racks, a handbrake and a gauge for the brakes. Also there seem to be some wardrobes in here at the moment, maybe for hanging up the uniforms or just keeping their overcoats. Okay, so next compartment down is the kitchen. Pretty basic at the moment, but there's obviously we could do quite a lot in there to sort of make that quite a nice kitchen. Hopefully one of the uses that we're going to have for this vehicle once it's restored is to do sort of private parties and functions, so having a kitchen would really make that quite nice indeed. Okay, so just walking now into the country end saloon. This is slightly bigger than the front end, so a few more seats. Some of the other examples that have been restored, I think, have got tables and chairs, so you can actually sit down and have a proper meal in there here. So at the moment, nothing's been agreed on the restoration of this vehicle, but I think over the next 3 weeks while it's in here, we're going to be doing a pretty thorough examination and present that to Rebecca so she can have a look over it and see what's required. Yeah, so fingers crossed, hopefully it's going to be on the list.
So, there we are, the definition of a fixer-upper and a half. I'm not going to deny it doesn't look good when a coach gets to this state, but frankly, when you can't keep it under cover, it will naturally deteriorate when it's open to the elements. All hope is not lost though. It is in here for drying out. They're going to make a custom canvas, so when they do have to take it back outside, it is going to preserve it just a little bit better. They're also doing an inspection on it to start to get an idea of what work needs to be undertaken should we get approval. I should stress at the time, this is just to get a basic idea of what it could entail. Rest assured though, if the carriage shop team are allowed to get their hands on this and go to town, we know it is going to look absolutely spectacular. On a personal note, I would love to see this running. It's a wonderful coach, and we've seen other railways with inspection saloons like this, just how beautiful they are. But that is it for this time, folks. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Neil for chatting to us, and we'll see you next time.